That's the cue. It's working.
That's the theme song.
Uh-oh. Why does this look like it's frozen?
Yeah, that'll be right.
Uh-oh. Why? Alright. Hopefully that fixed it.
Yeah, it's good.
Alright. We should be live. Let me make sure it's working because we did have a little technical difficulty there. Yeah, looks like we're good. All right, thank you all for tuning in. This is episode 51 of ACAB Radio. And like every week, we got a lot to talk about. Some crazy headlines, crazy stuff going on. We're going to start with a story that I'm sure most people are familiar with. And it seems like a lot of stories this week are coming out of Texas. The first three we're going to cover all Texas. This is Dallas PD. They killed a handcuffed individual who was mentally ill. I forget the gentleman's name, but they were joking and laughing the whole time while this man was suffering. So we're going to play the video real quick to give us a chance to share this live stream out. If you all are a part of any groups or know anybody that might be interested, you can always tag them in the comments or share this to them personally through private messenger. But yeah, let me play this video real quick.
If not, you should get out more.
You got any name on them or anything?
Just Tony's the only thing we can get.
Help me! Tony!
Hey, get on the ground.
No, you're gonna kill me.
I'm not gonna
You're gonna kill me.
He like called
You're
it too.
gonna kill me.
They're gonna kill me, and they joke about
Yeah,
it.
it's
and
kind of
they actually
predictable at
kill
this
him.
point. I mean,
Yeah, shit's just fucking crazy.
it's like saying the Patriots are going to be in the Super Bowl. I mean,
Hey, Tony. Tony.
No.
No!
Ah!
Just keep moving. That's too much.
stop it. Alright. Hey, you're okay. You're okay. You're okay.
Yacht Club in Rockwall. That's supposed to be funny.
Please let me go, please.
Hey, Tony. I'm trying to help you out, man. Just relax.
Trying to help you out. Okay. Thanks for your fucking help.
I'm gonna try to change the cuffs.
Okay.
That way we don't have to worry about it once he's up.
Yeah.
well, and it's not an uncommon thing when people die in police custody that they suffocate because of the handcuffs being in behind them, and
Right.
that restricts their lungs.
Yeah.
And you would think maybe they'd train the cops so they would know not to do that, or maybe they do and they just don't give a fuck. But you know,
I mean, he's already cuffed. You can hold him on the ground without all you motherfuckers
right.
putting all your weight on his back, you know?
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, you gotta put your fucking knee in somebody's back, and
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, what'd you take?
it's not like, even if he tried to resist, he's already handcuffed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could basically push him down. It's not like you have any balance when you don't have any arms.
No, he's not even resisting at all. He's face flat.
And not only, it says they also restrained his legs. So, I mean, what the fuck is he gonna do?
Look, his legs are like under that bench right there. They're all just laughing and shit.
He was scrumming a little too much.
You alright, bud? You gonna be alright.
Is he acknowledging anymore?
He's dead at this point.
Oh, I thought he nodded yes to your question.
Tony. 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 He's breathing. Tony.
I'll make sure you're still breathing.
Yeah.
His nose is buried in there.
I think he's just, yeah, he's really just snorted. Tony.
Is that cold? What the fuck?
Is he asleep?
He's
Snoring, that's what it was.
Yeah, he's asleep.
Tony.
Tony!
Hey! Time for school. Wake up.
I don't want to go to school, Mom.
First day, you can't be late.
Tony.
We bought you new shoes for the first day of school. Come on.
Made breakfast, scrambled eggs, your favorite.
With waffles.
Waffles.
Fruity, tutti, fruity waffles. I think he's out cold now.
Yes.
This might wake him up. I don't know, he just got quiet.
All of a sudden, he just bloop.
The dark him?
Oh, there he comes. Sound like he was snoring.
I hear him, is that dark him? Oh, the Green Oaks cocktail, like, drill.
Is he knocked out or he ain't dead, is he?
Nah, he just moved.
Oh, okay.
I think.
Oh, go freak.
He didn't just die down there, did he?
I don't think he did.
Is he breathing? Hope I didn't kill him.
Oh yeah, you hope you didn't kill him, huh? How'd you fucking joke about it?
I love how this became a we.
Yeah.
We ain't friends.
I'm fucking delicious.
Yeah, he's not breathing.
He's not breathing?
Nope.
Oh, shit.
Fire. Oh.
Nah, he ain't breathing, bro.
Well, put on some gloves when he's chest compressions.
Fuck. He ain't breathing.
So he was fighting and then just gave up.
Hey,
Like this.
I've got his mom on the phone, and she knows all this stuff.
He's dead.
He's what?
He's dead.
Well,
Man, I stopped watching the first time like halfway through, so that was my first time watching all of it. That's crazy. And they just continue joking all the way up until they hear he's dead. Like his mom's on the phone. That's how she found out is, you know, the guy in the ambulance saying, "Oh, he's dead." That's crazy.
Yeah.
Just joking and fucking laughing the whole time. I'm trying to share this out. I got a couple more groups to put this in, but there's a lot of stories to cover. The next one's also out of Texas. Arlington PD. They were trying to shoot. This officer was trying to shoot a dog and ended up shooting a woman. I guess the neighbors in the area all knew her very well. Nice, innocent woman, not old, but she was sleeping, and when the dog started barking, she woke up, and then he shot at the dog, shot her, and then she's like, "Oh, you can hear her screaming." I'm gonna play that video
Yeah,
too.
it's another one where the cops coming to help.
Yeah, we're here to help. Yeah, that first one in Dallas, I believe it was him who called the cops and said, you know, I'm off my meds. He knows he's mentally ill. And yeah, they show up to help. But yeah, let me play this video so I can finish sharing this out. It's really short.
Nobody. Ma'am! Hello? Are you okay? Is that your dog? Can you get back? 243 shots fired.
You can hear her say, "You shot me."
Ma'am, get a hold of your dog.
And then she's out by this point because I think he shot her in the head. That's all they released. They didn't release the rest of the video. That's how they do it out here too. Is they'll show the beginning, the shot, and then cut it out because they don't want the public to see the reality of it.
Well, and that's the point that should always be made is that we still have to film because they have access, and whether it gets released at all is up to them.
Right.
And then when it does, it's edited, and it's their narrative, and half the reporters that are reporting on it don't bother to even watch the video.
Mm-hmm.
They just Xerox off the statement from the police.
Mm-hmm. Word
And
for
basically,
word.
the press release that the police put out is what goes in the newspaper.
Mm-hmm.
Often word for word.
Yeah. Here's a third story. This is out of Galveston, Texas. These pigs on horses walking this gentleman who's handcuffed already, but they've got him attached to a leash like he's a dog. And it's just completely humiliating and demeaning, to say the least. So I put this other image up of runaway slave patrol badge.
Yeah, and contrary to what was first reported, this was not a Civil War reenactment.
Yeah, this is a real image. But I put that image there to point out to people, this may seem crazy, but when you think about it in a historical context, police in America started from runaway slave patrols. So it's 2019, and it looks like, the 18th century here. And, they caught a runaway slave or something. That's what, comes to mind when you see the image, which is why I put that badge there to remind people that this is nothing new. This has been going on for centuries. But it is crazy.
Throwback Thursday.
Fuck.
Except it's Tuesday.
It is crazy to see that, though, in 2019.
Well, and you look at it, so they had him handcuffed, and then they put a rope on his handcuffs, and for some reason a blue rope. I don't know if that's their blue line thing or what. For some reason they pointed out there was a blue rope, but the guy's handcuffed. And if you ever watch the videos where somebody actually tries to run in handcuffs, it never works out well because, like I said, you don't have any balance when you don't have your arms. So more often than not, they just fall down. And the guys are on horseback, so if he ran, what the fuck? What's gonna happen? They're gonna, if he doesn't fall down, they're just gonna chase him down on a horse. So,
yeah,
they're walking around with them horses shitting all over the place, not bothering to clean it up. And then, and they couldn't wait 3 minutes for a police car to show up. Yeah. So if you give them the most benefit of the doubt in the world and just say they weren't intentionally trying to humiliate this guy by leading him around on a horse, they're still lazy and just fucking careless that they couldn't just sit there and wait for somebody to come pick him up in a car.
Yeah. It's just unbelievable, man. Totally believable, but just disgusting. Another unbelievable story to come out of the land of the free here. This is from The Mind Unleashed. A 79-year-old woman was just sentenced to 10 days in jail for feeding stray cats. Her name was Nancy Segula. A sweet little 79-year-old woman will soon find herself in jail for feeding stray cats.
And all those cats were beautiful, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to get back to that. Our first 10 episodes, at the beginning of each episode, we make up a different acronym for ACAB. All cats are beautiful. Yeah, we got to get back to that for sure.
We gotta sit down and think some shit up.
Yeah,
It's hard to come up with on the fly.
Just keep pen and paper with us whenever it comes to
All
us.
cats are
Write it
beautiful
down.
is pretty easy to remember, but once you start getting beyond that,
Yeah, so this is just another crazy example of the growing police state and the dumb shit that you can get arrested for in the land of the free. So keep thinking you're free, people, while government's locking up old cat ladies in Ohio for feeding stray cats.
because they don't have money to test rape kits, but they can prosecute an old lady for giving out food to a cat.
Yeah. Next story here is from the Free Thought Project. Cop investigated for alleged roid rage during which he broke his own canine's leg. So, I didn't pull up the video for this one, but it's a good article from Matt Agrist. He was on the show last week, so if you missed that, definitely check out last week's show. It was a great episode with him on here. They do great work over there. But in this article, they point out that officers using steroids is nothing new. I mean, we've got, I don't know if he still works here, but Officer Roid Rage out here in Metro. I haven't seen him in a while, but yeah, I mean, it's a nationwide epidemic. The feds actually stepped in and did a report on it a couple years back.
Honestly, that's the prevailing reason why the police refuse to implement drug testing.
Yeah.
Because
absolutely.
It's something that's widespread and obvious. If you really if you look at the cops, they look like fucking pro athletes.
Yeah. So if they're not getting high off the drugs in the evidence locker, or
not that they're not also doing that.
Yeah. Then they're fucking using steroids. And you see these officers that are swole. You could tell. They're on steroids. Next story here was out of Vermont, also from the Free Thought Project, and the video is just rough. I mean, look at this lady's eye. Officer punched her right in the face.
And for the record, I suspect he's on steroids also.
Yeah, it could be another roid rage incident.
Testing yet, but
the other thing is the other statistic is how often officers beat their wives, or they're domestic abusers, whether it's their kids or their wives.
The reported rate is twice that of the general population.
Yeah, so Matt also pointed that out in this article. So that's what's good about the Free Thought Project. They take, current instances of police brutality and draw, a correlation to a bigger theme that happens nationwide, as well as linking to other articles that are relevant.
And the other relevant part of that is that the reported rate is lower than the actual rate.
Mm-hmm.
And that's normally it's lower, but when the person that you report your abuse to is the coworker of the person abusing you, you're not likely to get a good result. If anything, it might get worse.
Yeah, it definitely deters people from speaking up.
So it's twice the regular general population, and the level of reporting is more than likely quite a bit less than the general population. So
yeah, I think it's something like 2 out of 5 officers. Here's another officer beating another woman. Cop allowed to quietly resign after video shows him smash woman's head in over license plate sticker. There's also a video to this in the article, which we don't have queued up, but head over to the freethoughtproject.com. Should be one of the very first articles on the website. This happened was published just a couple days ago. So, but yeah, not only threw this woman into her own car, but that car next to theirs, threw him into that car, and that car's full of people. They're like, what the hell's going on? You see him get out of the car, and everybody's looking over a license plate sticker, write the ticket and move along,
Which, by the way, one of those things where, you look at the reality of the law versus the selling point of it.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, vehicle registration and these stickers that you have to put on your car is so if you get your car stolen and the police see it riding down the road, they can stop and arrest the person that stole your car. So, in theory, they would help you out and help you recover your property. In reality, they're going around like Nazis asking for papers.
Yeah, it's just revenue generation. Once again, not about safety or protecting you or your property.
And it's one of those things where the core reality of that law is it gives the cops an opportunity to stop and question you.
Yeah, and then look for something else. Absolutely. We're going to try to burn through these articles because there's so much to talk about, but this was an interesting study of something that, seems pretty common sense, but then you've got police apologists who think it's just a few bad apples, and I mean, that's why our comeback is always, well, why don't all of these good officers, since it's just a few bad ones, why don't they push out the bad officers or speak out against them, And what this study points out is when these supposed good cops that everybody seems to talk about and think are all over the place, when they see these few bad apples, I've been doing a lot of air quotes, I feel like, when they see these few bad apples running around beating people and getting
spoiling the bunch.
Yeah, that's exactly what that's the saying is a few bad apples spoil the bunch.
That's actually what that study says.
Yeah, so this study is proving that right. Because once these supposed good officers see these bad officers getting away with beating people, they start imitating. They start doing and engaging in those behaviors as well because they see that there's no accountability. So instead of like reporting their partner or these other officers or trying to rein them in, they just become like
just
them.
Crack their knuckles and go on.
Yeah, exactly. So it is contagious.
And that goes back also to the black police officer from last week who said, 15% of the people are good, 15% of the people are inherently bad and are going to be, violent and basically criminals regardless of what situation they're in. Within the police force, you have, 30% of people it's predetermined regardless of anything, they're either going to be good or bad. And then you have that 70% middle ground who's just going along. And they're going to do whatever they see happening. And if they see they can get away with beating their wife, they're probably going to go beat their wife.
Yeah, that was a good article. I believe it's on Nevada Cop Block's page. Was it a Vox? I don't want to say it was a Vox article, but yeah. Check that out. It was
a retired
reading.
Baltimore police officer. That was one of the things he said. He also had examples of the racism and the abuse that he'd seen during the time that he was a police officer. And all these people who are like, oh, if you just don't commit a crime, the cops won't do anything. But meanwhile, he's talking about how a guy, got dragged out of his house and beaten because the cops thought that somebody ran into his house. And then, of course, afterwards, there was nobody in his house.
If you're not watching this live, check the comments when you're watching this. I'm going to try to track down that article and post it in the comments as well. So that's it for the ones I have queued up, but we do have our handy dandy group here where we have all the rest of the articles. Chicago police didn't follow body camera policy.
Chicago police and every other police department in the country.
Shocker. Yeah, man. I just can't believe that they would do that. We've seen it all too often whenever they engage in these shady activities, oh, I forgot to turn it on, or he wasn't wearing his body camera. It's like, how do you allow them to even go out on their shift if they don't have their camera on? Or
the audio just happened to not work until after.
Right. Yeah. Or like out here in Vegas during the mass shooting, they'll go around and instruct their officers to turn their cameras off if they're going to, before they start plotting on how they're going to be covering shit up and whatnot. Which
I'll probably have to look that up afterwards and put it in the comments. But if you look on Steven Stubbs' YouTube page, there's a video that was released of one police officer instructing another officer how to turn the audio off on his body cam.
Marinero Mars, CPD is corrupt. I've been here my whole life, and they are the worst. Yeah, I haven't been out to Chicago, and I like to think that the LVMPD is the worst, but I think if we compare statistics, you're probably right, Marinero. There's a few departments that have us beat. For sure.
Obviously, we deal with Metro, and they are one of the worst. But yeah, Chicago, you'd have a hard argument not saying that Chicago is the worst.
Yeah, Florida, Texas, Nevada, Chicago. There's just so many that are.
And they've got staying power. They've been corrupt since.
Since
those
the
guys
Roaring 20s.
Yeah, those guys are running around with the top hats on.
Yeah. Well, why'd you take your top hat?
Not like there's anything wrong with the top hat. But
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. What is this? Here, Kelly.
Yeah, we need to get a headphone that'll fit around that.
Right. Before I forget, I do want to plug this event. Police Use of Force. The Nevada Community Speaks. It's an event centered around public testimonies of police abuse, corruption, and homicide. Kelly and I will both be speaking at this event. It's hosted by the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Las Vegas, which is located at 3616 East Lake Mead Boulevard. There's an event pinned to the top of our Facebook page, so if you're watching this on Facebook, you can head there, and within that event post, there's a link you can click to sign up to testify if you have a story that you think needs to be heard. Given the nature of the event, there will be security there. No officers will be allowed to attend. However, every single elected official in the state of Nevada has been made aware of the event and extended an invite, and a couple have responded, and a few have actually said committed to being there already. So it is Sunday, August 18th. If you've got a story, this would be the perfect opportunity, perfect venue, a great platform for you to tell that story and have elected officials ideally hear what you're saying and
ignore what you're saying.
Let's try to be optimistic here.
There'll be a lot of people there that will not be ignoring it. I'm just saying the politicians. The odds are.
Yeah, it should be good. It's presented by Families United for Justice, Forced Trajectory Project, Nisa's son, who's been on the show a few times, who we work closely with her, and Minister Stretch Sanders, who does great work in the community, Nevada Cop Block, and Plan of Nevada. Plan's been working on legislation out here, so they do some good work as well. Yeah, come check it out if you have a chance. Now back to these stories. This was the cops basically denying, like, it doesn't matter how bloody his face is, it wasn't us, deny. It's like the old Bush thing. If you repeat a lie enough times, it becomes the truth. People start believing it. And there's been memes going around with this guy's picture. I forget this gentleman's name, but it's him on the left, and then on the right is officers escorting the white supremacist mass shooter from El Paso. He killed 18 people. This guy, I believe it was just a traffic stop. And he gets beaten bloody. Meanwhile, this, because he's white, this mass murderer gets, gently, taken into custody. No problem.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Video shows Mississippi.
Did he fall down the stairs, or did he?
Oh, no, he must have beat his own ass, Kelly. I mean, the cops wouldn't do that. So that's in Mississippi. Here's another story out of Mississippi.
Some of those doors are hard to open, and sometimes, like, the doorknob will hit you right in the eye as you're opening it. So,
Video shows Mississippi cop grabbing black motorist by the neck during violent arrest. So I don't know if it's the same department. I'd have to look into that, but I'll share these articles for anybody who'd like to look further into it.
We're not saying that's the same cop. We're just saying.
Yeah, it's probably the same department.
He probably learned by watching that other cop that he could do it.
Right.
Yeah, because we've already figured out that they emulate each other.
Oh, absolutely. Just want to see if there's some other events going on. Today at 4:30, if you know anybody who's cash strapped or maybe some homeless people in your area, there is a free food share this afternoon at 4:30, put on by Southgate Learning and Resource Center, and that's located at 6620 Katy Avenue. So, free food, head on down to there. Looks like they're doing it again on Thursday.
August 10th, we'll be doing Chalk the Police State.
Yes, sir.
Chalking it up.
Chalk it out. Chalk it out. There's also Justice for Giovanni Melton press conference and Keep Watch sit-in. So Giovanni, am I saying that right? Yeah, Giovanni Melton was killed by his father when his dad found out that he was gay. So just completely heartbreaking story. I believe the mother's going to be there. They're going to meet in front of a Denny's located at 4th Street in Fremont at 10 a.m. and walk the petitions to the courthouse where the press conference will commence. We will call the attention of Judge Johnson to reverse the house arrest because they let the dad out on house arrest and place him back into custody where he belongs. We're calling upon the DA's office, which, I don't know, Wolfson's a piece of shit, so I don't know how successful it'll be getting through to him or appealing to, his kinder side that doesn't exist.
Yeah. Don't hold your breath waiting for him.
Yeah, Veronica Melton, so she will be there, the mother. So come out, stand with her, help make her voice heard. More often than not, a woman's voice is silenced in the court of justice. Today we can stand as a community to help Veronica pursue the justice she needs for Giovanni and to allow the victim's voice to be heard through our community. So head to that Friday, August 9th at 10 a.m. if you can. What else do we got? That's all I got here. Sorry if you're not here in Vegas. We got to take a little break to tell you, our community about upcoming events.
Well, 13th is our hearing on the supposed trespassing at the public press conference.
Right. So, I don't know if anybody would be willing to come out. That
should be a public hearing, so.
Yeah, it's open to the public, but who knows? We thought the press conference was open to the public and we got carried out. But if you want to come and support us and risk getting carried out of there as well, come and, check it out. Basically, I think that's going to be the day where we make our argument that, Nevada Cop Block is media and that we have a right to attend officer-involved shooting press conferences, so. Yep, should be a good time.
And they're going to make that argument that they don't want to answer certain questions, so they're going to handpick who asks the questions.
Yeah.
And hand out scripts of what those questions will be beforehand.
Exactly. Female Pennsylvania cop caught semi-nude in car with boy who was 17. Ooh. Met police must pay 3 men.
Was that in a police car or just in a car?
Good question. Just says in a car. I feel like they would specify, but then again, the media is very
she's one of those resource officers.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
This is an international story. It looks like it's probably in England since they're talking pounds here. But nearly 500,000 pounds after corrupt officer tried to frame them for
We don't
axe
actually know
murder.
what that is, but that's a lot.
It's a lot. I think pounds are like double the
I think
US
now
dollar.
they're like 3/4 or not.
Probably.
3/4.
It's been a while since I checked.
Again, they're like not quite twice it. They're like 1.75%.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So you do the math because we don't
Yeah.
like math.
Texas DPS division chief brutally raped woman in wooded area. So, another rapist.
He's a chief.
Yeah. It's usually how it is. It's usually the higher up setting the example for
Got him
the
out there
grunts.
training them good.
NYPD misconduct laws have already cost NYC taxpayers $40 million just this year.
You know, and that's part of the thing. And, you know, we had the thing with the more cops tax here. But all these departments complain about being underfunded, and they're spending millions on these lawsuits, the settlements for their crimes that they're committing. And that doesn't even take into account all the time that these officers who are being investigated are sitting on paid vacation, the lawyers' fees and all that from that. You know, the $40 million is just the settlement. The time that the lawyers spend reaching those settlements, it's probably half as much as that. It's probably another $20 million on top of that.
Right. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. This money needs to be coming out of their pensions or their 401k, their whatever they got, their time off, or their own assets, their house. If a cop lost his house, you know, and the rest of the department sees he lost his house for shooting an unarmed person who was handcuffed in the back of the patrol car, you know, then maybe it would deter these others from committing the same acts, because at this point they're rewarding them.
That's the other problem, is the cops don't pay any of that.
Right. It's the taxpayers.
So
to the tune of $40
no
million.
deterrent whatsoever.
And that's one city in 1 year, and the year's not even up yet.
Yeah. Sometimes the cops get fired and then they have to leave their paid vacation and go work for a different department. So, you know, that's a little inconvenient, but it's not really that much of a deterrent.
Right. All right, let's see. Texas deputy sheriff accused of cyber stalking Worcester girl.
Yeah, and
Another story out of Texas.
well, and that story is also, he went on one of those gaming platforms. I'm not sure which one. I'm not even sure if it says in the story, but it was basically he went on there and he met this girl.
She was a minor.
Yeah, she was 14 when he started talking to her. And then he started like blackmailing her, threatened to rape her younger sister.
Oh, wow.
Didn't say how old she was, but she's younger than 14. So, and then told her, you know, I'm a police officer and I have people watching your house. And if you don't send me nude photos, then, you know, I'm going to, well, he said he threatened to rape her sister to get her to send nude photos.
Oh, wow.
Then he threatened to expose those nude photos if she didn't give him like her login information for
Jesus.
Facebook and all that stuff.
Crazy.
So, I mean,
And this is Texas deputy sheriff. So deputy sheriff, that's the number 2 guy out there. Man.
Yeah, he's out training them cops good.
Yeah, you're starting to see a trend here.
So
it seems like all of these are
all
the
those
higher
bad
ups.
apples somehow end up in charge, you know.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Those
They get
couple
promoted.
guys, you know.
So he was arrested after bogus drug busts in Martin County.
Yeah.
I don't know if he was, let me see. I can't remember. There's been so many. I don't know if he was planting the drugs or just lying about stuff.
There was one, and I'm not sure if it was this guy, but it was from Florida, of course. And so I think it is the guy, but he had like a broken statue or something in his car where he was breaking off pieces of it and using that to claim that it was crack and then arresting people.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's crack. It's a piece of a cracked statue. So this says former Martin County deputy arrested on Monday after 6-month-long investigation found concerns in his drug arrest. Faces multiple charges.
And he's making these arrests, and well, first of all,
that's what you're right.
One of the things about it is these drug kits that they give the cops have proven to be ineffective. Basically, anything you put in there comes up as being drugs.
Yeah.
So that's why he takes this piece of a statue and he puts it in there and shows it to be drugs, and then he falsely arrests somebody.
Yep, that's the same one. Yep. Substances involved were not actually narcotics in these 3 different arrests. It was a sand-based material containing no narcotics.
Yeah, and he's got headache, that aspirin that for some reason, when I was in North Carolina, they still used it. I thought they stopped that like in the 1800s, but they used that powdered aspirin that you have to like mix up in a glass. But so they were using that he was claiming that was coke.
Now look at these guys. Surveillance camera captures agents tampering with evidence in Raymondville. I believe there was a video too, so you can actually watch them. Yeah, it was somebody's business that they were in there, just completely destroying the crime scene, tampering with evidence. The usual. This, however, is highly unusual. Deputy arrested for urinating in mouth of child for 2 years, starting at age 3. How somebody can piss for 2 years is... No. That's just crazy, man. A child, this is, my son's 3 years old. To think that an officer is out there pissing in kids' mouths.
And that's not like something you do because you're mad, because you're like some kind of crazy person that can't control yourself. That's just like psychotic tormenting of somebody because you can.
Yeah. Unbelievable. So Jakesha Hawkins says, my first time checking y'all out, but in California we are aware that we should always avoid Nevada PD.
Yeah,
Jakesha, yeah, definitely do it. Take all actions possible to avoid running into Metro. However, they have a long list of statutes that they have at their disposal to pull you over or engage you for whatever reason. So good luck with that. I wish you all the best. Next story here. LA Sheriff's deputy charged with assaulting his 73-year-old mother. So you're out in California, Jakesha. I hope that you're not in LA, because they've got sheriff's deputies who will beat the shit out of anyone,
and they got
including their own mother.
LA County Sheriff, then they got the LAPD. Then, like, if you're in the burbs, they got, San Bernardino. They got every fucking different one. Because it's not like Metro where they got the one little thing and they're all there. There's 20 different police departments you got to avoid out there in LA.
Right. Yeah. Ex-federal jail lieutenant. See? We're just getting higher and higher. It was a sergeant. Now it's a lieutenant. Gets 25 years in prison for sexually abusing inmates. This is the NewYorkDailyNews.com. We'll be sharing all these links in the comments section of the original ACAB live stream. So if you want to read more up on any of these.
The thing about that is normally the prison guards, especially the jail guards, so the correction officers, they're the guys who couldn't make it as a regular cop. They weren't qualified, so...
Right, or they'll start out there and trying, with the ambitions of being a cop.
Yeah, that's usually what it is. They go and be a corrections officer to prove themselves because they can't quite make it as a cop, or they can't quite qualify to be a full cop, so it's kind of like the on-job training thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, Jakesha says she is in L.A. Uh-oh.
Watch out for the banditos.
Yeah.
Because they even stole their name. Because there's a motorcycle club named the Banditos, but meanwhile the cops run around calling themselves Banditos.
Yeah, we talked about that a couple episodes.
I think they
back.
spell it different. The Banditos with a D are the motorcycle club.
With the T's, the cops. Yeah. There's a lot of cop gangs out there. We just covered that a couple weeks ago.
It's too late by the time you see the tattoo.
Yeah. Phoenix officer's body cavity search was inappropriate. Investigation. Fine. So this is put this here because it's a follow-up to a story we covered. I want to say 2 weeks ago, where you're only supposed to be allowed to do not a cavity search, but just what's it called? Like a search. You can make them a strip search. So there's a difference between a strip search and a body cavity search, and this was right there on the side of the road.
Which you shouldn't be able to do that, but
yeah. But I mean, they went all up in there trying to find, I think it was a little bit of weed, which they didn't find.
So you need a warrant to rape somebody.
Now in effect, North Dakota reforms asset forfeiture, but federal loophole remains. So last week with Matt Agaris, we were talking asset forfeiture. Came across this article from the Activist Post, which is a great website there. They actually shared Matt's article from the Free Thought Project about us getting carried out of the press conference onto their page. So I wanted to reciprocate and share their content as well. But yeah, it's definitely relevant given we talked about it last week. Bailiff on Christina Perez's Justice for All charged with murdering his wife.
Nice.
So I don't know.
Well, he's a method actor.
Yeah, so I don't know if he's a real cop.
He's
Still
a method actor, so he's acting like a cop, and
yeah. He had to really get into his role.
You gotta immerse yourself in that role. You gotta actually go out and kill somebody.
The other article that I didn't queue up, but it's from The Mind Unleashed. They've been putting out some great content. I know a few of the writers over there, and they're good people, great at what they do. So I'd recommend checking this article out. Pentagon testing mass surveillance balloons to spy on vehicles across the U.S. So they already have, in some major cities, drones that aren't, like Predator drones armed with, missiles and whatnot, but they have like military drones that fly high above the city and are capable of zooming in to such an extent that they can, see somebody cooking a hot dog on a grill, that type of thing, and they're flying miles and miles above the city, and they just fly around.
Mustard on that or not.
Yeah, and they just fly around, recording everything. So this is
right now
expanding on that, I guess.
They actually have it limited, so they can't put weapons on there, but the cops have been pushing for that.
Right.
But it's only surveillance right now.
So these aren't drones. I guess the drones are probably too costly. They're looking into surveillance balloons to spy on vehicles across the U.S. And it's just talk about Big Brother.
It's not kids losing balloons. That's the cops just sending it out there.
And talking about drones, I mean, almost all major police departments have drones now. The police.
When they also have restrictions on civilians having drones, so it's another one of those things where they're going to restrict it to just cops having drones. So you can't, indiscriminately film the cops from a distance where you're actually safe.
Second Florida officer charged with planting drugs. So we just talked about one a little earlier. Now here is a second one. In a month.
Tomorrow it'll be 3.
They say in a month, but it's actually a week. Yeah. This is brutal. I don't know if I want to play the whole thing, but...
He's the police. Sir, they just killed this man.
This is in Portland, I want to say. Or...
Oh my God. Oh,
yeah, Portland.
Oh my God. Oh my God, he gone. He's gone. Oh.
Yeah, so that's tough to watch. And it goes on for like 7 minutes. I don't know if you guys are interested in checking it out. I believe it was. I forget which page it was. I'll post this in the comments. But I mean, the guy was fleeing to an apartment complex. I can't remember what his original charge was. I don't know. He was like doing something with a vehicle. I think somebody thought he was breaking into a vehicle, called the cops, and he had I don't know if it was a knife or a hammer on him. And so he took off running, and they shot him while he was running. Warrant issued for San Diego police sergeant. So there you go, another sergeant. This was the guy who raped a child. Yeah, this was the child rapist.
Well, this does have a good ending, so.
Yeah. So a warrant was issued, but they found him dead in his house from apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. So who knows if he committed suicide or if he committed suicide. You know, maybe he had dirt on others and they took him out. There's really no telling. Maybe it was just the shame got to him and he killed himself, you know, because he got caught raping little girls. But yeah, so he killed himself, so you don't have to worry about him anymore, or else he was killed. There's really no telling.
And if he hadn't committed a crime, he wouldn't have to worry about getting shot by a cop.
We talked about this image.
I think they went full out with the horses and the cowboy hats and
so
black guy.
Yeah.
Like if you're gonna role play, you know.
This was an article from the Washington Post, which is available on Nevada Cop Block's Facebook page.
That's one of the things we always talk about Metro, where, you know, they've got this narrative they put out there, and then a month later when they release the video, it's something completely different, and that's what this is. The original story was there was an alarm that went off. They came to the door, and the guy swung the door open, pointing a gun at the cop. The reality is the cop looked through the window and saw this guy putting a gun away. Then, and they're not real clear on exactly what happened. It sounds like the cops fired through the window, so he wasn't even like at the door. Because it's a real brief description within the article, but that's what it sounds like. Is he actually didn't even go to the door? He fired through the window. But they say on the video that the guy was walking the other direction, so he wasn't threatening the officer. The officer could have walked away or stayed there and waited till he made some kind of actual, you know, threat, and just waited for more officers to arrive.
It's just crazy how the stories evolve from when it first came out.
And it turns out the alarm that alerted this cop to come was a medical alert. It was one of those things that the old people have where, you know, they fall down and they can't get up. They push a button and somebody comes and helps them up. You know, so, you know, so it's not like he got an alarm saying there was some kind of violent burglary going on. There was somebody that needed medical assistance. And then he came up and pounded on the guy's door, and the guy's like, you know, went to get his gun, or didn't even actually go to get his gun. He was putting his gun back away, but he had his gun out because he thought maybe somebody was breaking in.
Gotcha.
And so this cop just seized the opportunity and shot somebody. Got his tattoo early.
Right. I don't know why it won't let me do a watch party. Oh, there it goes. Okay. I thought Zuck was getting to me again. Start a watch party, hopefully get some people watching.
Zuck.
Yeah.
He'll let you know what you can watch.
So yeah, that was a crazy article. Definitely worth reading.
And
Facebook's weird, like with their cookies. Like when I go to WashingtonPost.com, I can't even read this article because they say I've read too many articles, so I had to like open it in a separate browser. So for those of you that don't know, if it doesn't let you read it on Facebook, just open it in your browser and it'll bypass that. So.
Or clean your cookies out, and then they won't know that you were there.
Yes. Or head over to Nevada Cop Block.
But I mean, the quote on there is pretty good because they're basically like, "Well, we're taking care of that," which kind of sounds like they're gonna, cook up a story for the guy. But the other thing is they're saying, we're not releasing the unedited body cam footage, and there's nothing that legally requires us to do that.
Yeah. So you got us this time. You caught us lying, but we're not going to change. We're not going to start releasing unedited body camera footage because we're not legally required to do so. Next story here. New York Health Department says exposure to criminal justice system associated with lasting harm, from thehill.com. The data show that involvement with the system, even brief contact with police or indirect exposure, is associated with lasting harm to people's physical and mental health. It was interesting. One statistic worth pointing out that we also came across is police killings is the 6th leading cause of death for men from ages 25 to 29 in the U.S. 6th leading cause of death is police killings, ages 25 to 29.
So not quite as serious as a heart attack, but they're getting there. But also, and they had the old story from 2015 that's on Nevada Cop Block, where they said that in Nevada the most distinctive cause of death is encounters with the police.
I believe it.
And that's from the Center for Disease Controls.
So is even the government.
So they're calling the cops a disease. I'm not saying that. The CDC is saying that.
So we're trying to get through all of these here.
A deadly disease.
I think that might have been it. Let me see. Yeah, we already covered this story, so that's it. Cool, we made it. There was a lot of stories. I didn't think we were gonna be able to burn through all that, but tune in next week. We'll have a lot more for you. I'm sure. I mean, I'm no fortune teller, but week after week, there's been no shortage of cop headlines to cover. Unfortunately, they can't seem to stay out of the news. So I think that's
We've heard
it.
Ohio is, they're a little jealous of Florida and Texas getting all this attention, so they're going to shoot 139 bullets at somebody again just to, get themselves back in there.
Oh, shit. What happened out there? Somebody got shot, what, 139?
That's the old case where they shot the couple 139 times, and then they determined that they couldn't charge any of the cops involved because they couldn't figure out which one of them actually shot the kill shot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's where they chased that couple all the way through Cleveland because their car had backfired, and then one of the cops thought it was a gunshot.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Other thing that's been in the news is all these mass shootings. I don't know. I feel like the mainstream media is covering it enough, and we don't really need to. But, it's just crazy. There were, 3 in 24
hours? In 1
hours?
day, yeah.
Well, there was the garlic. So there's the garlic festival. It was a couple days ago, maybe even a week now, where that guy had racist posts about mestizos, which, it's like basically brown people, Mexicans. Then you got this guy in El Paso who was a racist piece of shit white dude who, hated Mexicans. And it's like, how can you not draw a correlation between this increase? It's like people try to say, well, yeah, mass shootings is nothing new. It's been going on since before Trump. But when you look at the people who are doing these shootings, the Parkland shooter, there's that picture of him in a MAGA hat.
There's an uptick in the amount of them. So
yeah.
So they're not new, but, there's more of them. But at the same time, they just sentenced that guy that was sending out the bombs and had his little hit list of people he was going to send them to 20 years. He was in Florida, of course.
Oh, the Trumper, too.
He was the guy that was homeless and was angry about people on welfare, because they were taking the welfare that he would get, obviously. And I'm sure when he went to those rallies, he would yell at people to get a job, even though he didn't have a job. You know, because they can't think of anything original to say.
So, I mean, white supremacy terrorism is real, and it's apparently alive and well, unfortunately, in America. And this issue it's a very complex issue, of course. There are, it's not just Trump, it's not just white supremacists. There, but it's a big part of it right now.
And part of it is it's not even that there's that many more racist people. It's just now they're comfortable and they feel like they can act out and get away with it, or at least have a sympathetic.
There was a good cartoon image, like a meme that I saw, and it was like President Trump on the TV talking about, Mexicans, these are bad people. And then you got his Trump supporter watching the TV with his hat on and his AR, and he's like, don't worry, I'll take care of them for you, Mr. President. And it's like, yeah, I could totally see these fucking whack jobs, like, Trump telling them, like, trying to appeal to his base, telling them what they want to hear, and it's really getting these wackos fired up,
And that's the thing about it, is you're creating an environment where people who are already angry and close to the edge feel comfortable stepping the rest of the way off that edge.
Right.
And the guy from Texas, the guy from El Paso's reasoning, one of the reasonings for why he went on a shooting spree is because immigrants are dangerous and violent.
Yeah.
So he went and shot 20 people. Or shot, I think, 70 people. Wasn't there like 50 people injured?
I want to say it's 22 people died.
20, yeah, there's 20-something. I think 22 is right, but 20-something people killed, and then there was a bunch of people injured. So
yeah,
dozens of people, because he's so afraid that immigrants are going to come here and break the law by stepping over some imaginary line, looking for a job.
Right. The other thing that gets me is not only I'm sick of mass shootings like everybody else, but I'm also sick of, gun grabbers thinking that legislation is going to stop this type of thing. There is no law that would have stopped the El Paso shooter. He bought it legally. That's the thing. All these white dudes that are committing these fucking mass shootings are, passed a background check and bought these guns, so nothing would have stopped it. So people say, okay, ban assault rifles because you can fire, 30 rounds in 30 seconds and kill 30 people. Well, a handgun, a pistol shoots just as fast, so you can get a pistol, you can get extended clips, you can get drum barrels that hold 100 rounds for a 9mm. Where's the line? Is it just assault rifles, or is it all semi-automatics, or
and that's the reality of it. You're not going to eliminate the guns. If anything, you're going to consolidate them into the hands of the government
and criminals, because criminals don't follow the law.
So the thing is, you're not,
definition.
unless you're eliminating the guns, you're not eliminating the problem, because the people who want to go out on a shooting spree aren't worried about whether they own a legal gun or not. Right. And by and large, they're the people that can buy a legal gun, so they're not even worried about that. So, but the thing about it is that the thing I always tell, when I'm discussing it with people on the left, all those crazy people already have their guns. So, first of all, don't let the government be the only ones that have the guns. And on top of that, don't let those crazy people that are trying to kill you be the only ones that have a gun.
Yeah, especially when you're talking to people on the left. It's like, so you believe that there's concentration camps, right? Yeah. That's what you're saying. It's a concentration camp. Well, but you want the government to be the only one with guns. So there's concentration camps and you want to get rid of guns. Like, that's fucking, get on the fucking boxcar, right to the, get the fuck out of here.
Well, if you vote hard enough. But that's the thing about it, is none of the gun control laws that I've ever seen have actually been to eliminate guns. They've been to make sure only the government has guns.
Right. They've been chipping away at shit. They've, first it was bump stocks, and then it's going to be suppressors, and I don't know what's next. Violent video games, we got to make those illegal. People need to stop turning to politicians for solutions. This kind of stuff is individual responsibilities. It's parent responsibilities to monitor what their kids taken. I mean, there is mind pollution out there, and there are those types of personalities that are more susceptible to, being brainwashed type of thing, to these, being desensitized and whatnot. So that is a real thing, but the answer isn't banning anything. It's not, there's 3D printers now. What are you going to ban 3D printers? Somebody can 3D print a gun. Okay, well, we'll make it illegal to have 3D printed guns. Okay, well, that's not going to do anything until after the fact. When somebody kills somebody with a 3D printed gun, then you just tack on, an extra charge to the murder charge. I mean, it's silly. The gun debate's over. There is no way to control guns. It's Pandora's box. You can't close it once it's been opened, It's like, oh, well, there's all these wildfires. Let's just ban fire. Like, you can't, make something unexist like that. It's already out there. It already is what it is. There's just certain cultural things that we need to address, toxic masculinity. There's, like I said, it's a complex issue, and trying to make something illegal isn't going to stop either of the extremes, whether it's gun violence from gangs. They're already criminals. They're not going to follow the law. Or mass shooters. It's not going to change anything. And we need our guns. Like, the government's getting bigger. They're encroaching on our freedoms. You need your guns to hold them at bay. I mean, it's like the standoff when BLM was taking the Bundy's land, and they all came out armed, and the FBI and ATF and all of them backed down, and they later beat the charges in court. So that's a perfect example of, because people like to say, oh, well, you can't take on the U.S. government. And it's like, well, when you meet them on a level playing field, you can.
Well, that's one of the big arguments where it's one of those big, hey, we're so clever, we made up this thing, is like, yeah, you're going to take your gun and you're going to go against the government with tanks and planes and shit, but it's like, well, you're going to do a lot worse without those guns, so at least have a gun,
Yeah, but then the other thing you got to realize is the majority of the military, the military is full of order followers, just like cops, but the majority of them didn't sign up to kill their own countrymen, right? So if politicians or the president, they pass a law to make, take the guns away, they're not going to follow orders to fly a drone to drop a fucking bomb on people. And that, the army's not going to go put down, go door to door and take people's guns, that type of thing. I mean, it's
there's
just
a percentage of them that would, but
maybe a very.
But I think the
small
odds,
percentage.
if you look at the military versus the police, the police are actually sign up and train to use force against their fellow citizens. Mm-hmm. By and large, military does not do that. They think that, they believe that propaganda that they're out fighting for freedom in another country.
Right.
Well,
exactly. They buy into that. So they're not going to be fighting a war to take away freedoms here at home. I don't see the Air Force dropping bombs and tanks and
also,
that type of thing.
Guerrilla warfare is,
Yeah, look at the Vietnamese.
They're not launching nuclear bombs into the middle of a city, so, all that about nuclear bombs and all that really isn't even relevant.
Mm-hmm. Look at Iraq. There's insurgency there. Look at the insurgency in Vietnam. They took on the U.S. military with guns. So, I mean, you don't want to give up your defense, because then how do you protect the First Amendment if you don't have the Second Amendment? How are then once they take your guns, then it's a free-for-all. They can take anything. They can take your freedom of speech. They can take, and it's a natural right that you have to defend yourself. So no government, no matter what they write on a piece of paper, can tell you that you no longer have the right to defend yourself. I'm sorry, but it's just not how it works. So I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I don't never claim to have the answers. Can more be done? Absolutely. I think there are some common sense things that I'm willing to discuss with people, but as far as giving up assault rifles or giving up your right to self-defense, your right to bear arms. I can't get on board with that. So any politician, any member in the community that endorses that type of ideology is not an ally in this fight. Not my ally, for sure. Just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I didn't even want to get into it, but we went there. It's been all over the news, so it's hard to do a show and not talk about it. But I mean, I'm just as sick as the next person of seeing this shit. But all I know is the answer is not more police. It's not putting police in schools. The answer isn't arming teachers, because then little Johnny, who doesn't spit his gum out, is going to get one straight between the eyes from the teacher. You know what I mean? That's not the answer. The thing is, people need to realize is you need to quit giving up your freedoms just for a little false sense of security. Like that Benjamin Franklin quote that you get something like, if you give up your freedom for safety, then you deserve neither, something like that, paraphrasing. But there is no perfectly safe world, and the government is never going to be able to provide you with that. They just use that as a guise to take away your rights and get more power for themselves. So don't be that naive and stupid to believe that they have your best interests at heart and that they're doing this to keep you safe. It's all a control game for them. And this has been in the works for a long time. They've been wanting to take our firearms for a long time. So as long as it's something common sense that, let's have, some sort of better screening, like a mental health screening. But then that's a slippery slope too. Because
that doesn't work because the government determines who's mentally ill.
Yeah, and then it's like, I was depressed 6 years ago, so
it's not like there's not a history of the government or governments, throughout hundreds of years using mental illness and asylums to lock up and punish people that were political dissidents.
Mm-hmm.
So,
right, just call them crazies.
It's not like there's not a precedent for that.
Right.
That was a pretty common thing, actually, less than 100 years ago.
Yeah, it's just too slippery of a slope, man. So you either have the freedom, you have the right, or you don't. It's like free speech, Well, and then they pass one thing, like you can't say fire in a crowded theater, and people go along with it. Well, yeah, that makes sense. But it's a slippery slope. Then from there on, they have that precedent set, and then they take further encroachments, further steps to take away that right. And it's like, why do you even need that fucking right? If somebody comes in a theater and screams fire, if you don't smell smoke, or you don't it's some fucking kid laughing and shit, like, you don't need a law for that type of shit. You know what I mean?
That's the thing,
Are you gonna trust this person
that makes
or not?
you a
It's
real
personal
asshole.
Responsibility.
It makes you an asshole if you're ruining the movie for everybody like that. But realistically, maybe a guy punches you in the face and maybe you deserve it, but is it really that bad of a thing for somebody just to yell fire in a theater? Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. They start with these precedents that sound good and appealing to most people, but when you really look at it, it's like, you don't fucking need that law either, So I don't know.
We're coming out against the fire in a theater law.
Fuck yeah, I'm taking a stand.
Fuck yeah.
So I don't know. People need to realize that that's not the solution. Government isn't the solution. More laws passed by politicians isn't the solution. Take more personal responsibility. And
I heard they're gonna ban bullwhips.
Lord, it's fucking crazy. So yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll leave it there. We already did the events once again. Check out this. You'll see this image on our Facebook page for an event. Click that event link. Check it out. We need the community support. Speaking of support, you can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/ACAB radio. I think we have like 2 patrons right now for a total of $9 a month.
Nice.
So, I mean, we're getting up there. We only had 1 supporter for like a month or 2, so we've doubled. It's a 100% increase in our support. So yeah, if you find the show valuable, help us to continue doing it, because we enjoy doing it. We do it for free, but there are operating costs. We bought all this equipment, and there's improvements to the show that we want to make. There's software that we want to get. But speaking of improving the show, we are also got something in the works, some next level shit. We are working on networking with some other independent media people, and we've already started that. We've got some new images made. For example, we're going to be revamping the ACAB radio.com website and joining a network where hopefully we'll be able to reach more people, and
it's gonna be fancy shit.
It's gonna be cool. Also, I have the next week off from work, so I'm gonna be getting everything up to date as far as like iTunes, YouTube. I already started on YouTube yesterday, so just getting all our old content uploaded. So yeah, it's a lot of work, people. So we could use the support. Let us know that you're with us in this and that you want us to keep doing this. So if you can, even if it's $1 an episode or $1 a month, we'd appreciate the support. If we get like at least 1,000, 2,000 views, 3,000 on our last show a week. I mean, if we can get these people actually liking our page, actually donating, if everybody did $1, like, we would actually make money, and that would be cool, which isn't the goal for me. I mean, I don't expect to get rich off of this, but I mean, if we can make enough money to get reimbursed for these microphones, or to buy a new laptop, or to buy some software to increase our production value, that'd be cool. Like, I want to get a green screen and like make this shit look fancy, but we need your help to do that.
If we get enough, we can rent that downtown event center. Played the Super Bowl.
Shit, yeah.
On that big fucking screen out there. I mean, it's
that
like
would be
100
awesome.
feet.
So yeah, help us out. We'll got some
let people in for
stickers we
free.
can send you. We've got some t-shirts. So if you support us, we will hook you up with some swag. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. That's all I got. Share this out if you can. Help us reach more people. Tune in next week. Let me see if anybody commented real quick. If there's any questions.
See if they said anything about that downtown event center. If somebody's got some pull, we might get a discount.
Yeah, I'm really bad about monitoring the comments and addressing people's questions, but normally we don't get too many questions. Looks like somebody posted a link, so I can't see what that is, but yeah, I think we're good. All right. See y'all next week, same time. Well, hopefully a little earlier, because we started a little late today. Sorry about that. But when you're your own boss, you get to say, fuck it, we'll do this whenever. So yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah.
Tune in next week.
That is true, by the way, that you have to, the cops have to hurt their dog before they'll investigate the steroid ass.
All right.
They still won't test them, I don't think. They didn't test that guy, did they?
No.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. All right, we'll catch you next week. Peace.